Sarah Fletcher had always believed that love arrived with certainty. A clear moment, a clear choice, something that felt safe. At 31, she had built her life around that belief. Steady job, familiar routines, and relationships that never asked too much of her heart. That belief shattered on a rainy Tuesday afternoon. She met Nick Ferry by accident, in the most ordinary place imaginable, a nearly empty coffee shop on the edge of downtown Boston. The city was soaked, streets blurred by rain, people rushing past as if the weather itself were chasing them. Sarah had stepped inside only to escape the storm, her phone pressed to her ear as she ended a work call she barely remembered starting. Nick was already there, standing at the counter, arguing gently with the barista about a spilled latte that wasn't his fault. "It's fine," he finally said with a small laugh. "Really? I'll take another." Sarah watched him from behind, noticing how calm he seemed despite the frustration. When he turned around, their eyes met for half a second, long enough for something unexpected to settle between them. "Sorry," he said instinctively, stepping aside. "No, you're fine," she replied, smiling before she realized she was smiling at all. That should have been the end of it. A moment, nothing more, but fate had other plans. They sat at opposite ends of the shop, rain pounding against the windows, the world outside temporarily erased. Sarah tried to focus on her emails. Nick tried to read, flipping the same page over and over again. Eventually, he looked up. "This weather makes it impossible to leave, doesn't it?" he said. She hesitated, then nodded. "Feels like the city's holding us hostage." They laughed, and just like that, conversation became easy. Too easy. Nick told her he had moved back to the city after years away, chasing work that never felt permanent. Sarah spoke about her marketing job, about how she had built a life that looked perfect from the outside. Neither of them said what they were really thinking, that this felt familiar in a way that made no sense. Hours passed unnoticed. When the rain finally slowed, reality returned with it. "Well," Nick said, standing, "I should probably go before this turns into a hurricane again." "Yeah," Sarah replied, "probably." They stood there, neither moving, both aware that something important was slipping away. "Maybe I'll see you around," he said. "Maybe," she answered, and that should have been goodbye. It wasn't. They ran into each other again the following week. Then again after that. Each meeting felt accidental, yet perfectly timed. Coffee turned into walks. Walks turned into dinners that lasted far too long. With Nick, Sarah felt something she hadn't allowed herself to feel in years, uncertainty mixed with excitement. He didn't fit neatly into her plans. He didn't ask where she saw herself in 5 years. He simply asked how her day had been, and actually listened. But there was a problem. Sarah wasn't alone. She had been in a long-term relationship with Daniel, a man who offered stability and predictability. He was kind, dependable, safe. Everyone expected them to take the next step. Nick, on the other hand, represented everything undefined. She didn't tell him about Daniel, not at first. She told herself she was protecting something fragile. But deep down, she knew she was afraid of what the truth would cost her. Nick sensed the distance even when Sarah tried to hide it. "You disappear sometimes," he said one evening as they sat along the river, city lights shimmering on the water. "Like you're halfway somewhere else." She swallowed hard. "I don't mean to." "I know," he said gently. "I just don't want to be a place you visit when life feels heavy." His words lingered long after they parted ways. That night, Sarah lay awake staring at the ceiling, realizing she was standing at the edge of a choice she had avoided for far too long. The truth came out on a quiet Sunday morning. They were walking through a small neighborhood market when Nick stopped suddenly. "Is there something you're not telling me?" he asked. She froze. The weight of her silence answered for her. "I'm seeing someone," she said finally. "Or, I don't know anymore." Nick's expression didn't change, but something behind his eyes dimmed. "How long?" "Before I met you." He nodded slowly, absorbing the truth without anger, without accusation. "You should have told me," he said. "I know. I wouldn't have stopped talking to you," he added. "But at least I would have known where I stood." She had no defense, only regret. "I need time," Nick said, "to figure out what this means." And just like that, the space between them grew wider than it had ever been. Weeks passed. Sara tried to return to her old life, but it felt unfamiliar now. Conversations with Daniel felt rehearsed. Laughter felt forced. She realized she had already drifted away long before she admitted it. Meanwhile, Nick pulled back completely. No texts. No chance encounters. The city felt suddenly too large without him in it. One evening, Sara stood alone at the same coffee shop where it all began. Rain tapped softly against the glass, echoing the memory of their first meeting. She understood then that love didn't always arrive neatly. Sometimes it arrived to disrupt, to demand honesty, to force difficult decisions. She ended things with Daniel that night, not because of Nick, but because she finally admitted the truth to herself. By the time Sara reached out to Nick, it had been almost 2 months. She didn't know what she expected. Forgiveness. Closure. They met again by the river, the air sharp with early winter. "I didn't come here to make promises," she said. "I came to be honest. I chose truth, even if it means losing you." Nick studied her face for a long moment. "Love shouldn't feel like something you steal," he said quietly. "It should feel like something you're brave enough to stand in." Tears filled her eyes. "I'm standing now." Silence stretched between them. Then he smiled. Softly, cautiously. "Then maybe we start again," he said. "Not where we left off. Somewhere new." They didn't rush this time. They learned each other slowly, deliberately. They accepted uncertainty as part of the journey rather than something to fear. Love, Sara realized, wasn't about perfect timing. It was about choosing honesty even when it was uncomfortable. Months later, standing on a quiet street as snow fell gently around them, Sara looked at Nick and felt something she had never truly known before. Not certainty, but truth. And that was enough.